The starport of Zarathia was unlike any place Captain Elias Varen had ever seen. Massive towers of metal and glass stretched into the sky, their surfaces gleaming under the twin suns. Hovercrafts zoomed between platforms, carrying goods, passengers, and entire cargo containers. Aliens of every shape and size walked along the bustling streets, their voices echoing in languages Elias could not understand. Some had scales, some had fur, some had multiple limbs, and some had eyes that glowed faintly in the dim light of the lower platforms. Yet amid all the alien hustle, one presence stood out, commanding attention without moving a muscle. She was known throughout the hub as Lyra, the massive female of her species, a towering figure who could crush a cargo droid with a single hand. Her skin was a shimmering bronze, her eyes a deep glowing amber, and her posture radiated confidence and power. Wherever she walked, lesser beings parted instinctively, giving her space. Not out of malice, but out of fear. Alien males, in particular, avoided her gaze, intimidated by her strength, size, and reputation. Stories of her victories in intergalactic competitions, of battles where she had bested entire squads of warriors, were whispered from platform to platform. Many had tried to approach her, hoping to earn her respect, or perhaps her attention, but none had succeeded. Elias, however, was not like the others. He stepped off his small human shuttle, taking in the vastness of the hub without hesitation. His uniform was simple, marked with the insignia of the Human Exploration Corps, and his calm expression contrasted sharply with the nervous energy of surrounding traders and aliens. He had come to Zarathia on a mission of diplomacy, but already, the sheer diversity of life around him was enough to make his heart race with excitement. When Lyra first noticed him, he was walking straight toward her, a small smile on his face. Her amber eyes narrowed in curiosity. Few dared to approach her unarmed, fewer still with a smile that did not tremble. She had expected another alien to bow, to offer gifts, or to avert their eyes in terror. Yet here was a human, smaller, frailer in appearance, yet moving with a confidence she could not ignore. "Who is this?" she murmured, her voice low and melodic, carrying easily across the nearby platforms. The surrounding aliens stiffened, whispering among themselves. "A human," one said. "He dares—" The words trailed off. None could finish the sentence. Elias stopped a few steps away, keeping his hands visible and his posture relaxed. "Greetings," he said in a clear, even tone. "I am Captain Elias Varen of the Human Exploration Corps. It is an honor to meet you, Lyra." The name rolled off his tongue as if he expected her to be more than just a rumor, and perhaps she was. Lyra tilted her head slightly, studying him. There was no fear in his eyes, no hesitation, just calm, and a spark of curiosity that reminded her of her younger days, before she had become an unapproachable figure in the galaxy. "I am surprised," Lyra replied finally, her voice carrying a mixture of amusement and suspicion. "Few approach me willingly, fewer still with this demeanor." Elias smiled gently. "I believe respect is earned by action, not size or strength. You have earned my respect long before I arrived." Lyra's amber eyes widened ever so slightly. None of the alien males had ever spoken to her this way. They flinched, they stammered, they tried to impress or intimidate, but no one had ever simply smiled at her and spoken plainly. She allowed herself a small nod, acknowledging the difference. The crowd around them began to gather, whispers spreading quickly. Traders paused their work to watch, and even the massive cargo drone seemed to hover for a moment, as if sensing the importance of this unusual meeting. Lyra finally stepped forward, her massive form moving with a grace that belied her size. She was careful not to crowd him, but the ground trembled slightly under her steps, making Elias steady himself. "You are not afraid," she said, her tone more statement than question. "Why?" Elias tilted his head, thinking. "Because fear does not solve problems. Understanding does. And I want to understand you, your people, your world." For a moment, silence fell. Lyra had spent decades being observed, admired, and feared, but few had ever spoken to her with such honesty. She felt a strange curiosity stirring inside, a desire to see if this human's courage was genuine or just foolishness. Before she could respond further, a commotion erupted near one of the trading platforms. A group of smaller aliens was arguing, with a merchant over a shipment of rare minerals. Voices were raised, and it seemed the situation might escalate into violence. Lyra's instincts kicked in immediately. She moved toward the scene, her presence alone causing some of the arguing aliens to pause. Ilias followed without hesitation, his human instincts guiding him to assess the situation before acting. "Step back, everyone," he called out in the common tongue, his voice firm but calm. "We can resolve this without conflict." Lyra raised an eyebrow, impressed. He did not panic. He did not shout or gesture wildly. He spoke clearly with authority that did not rely on size or threat. She kept her eyes on him as he began to negotiate with the disputing aliens, using logic, reasoning, and a quiet confidence that slowly calmed the tension. Within minutes, the argument was resolved peacefully. The merchant thanked him, bowing slightly, while the other aliens nodded in respect. Lyra's amber eyes glowed softly with approval. "You handle conflict differently than most," she remarked once the crowd dispersed. "You do not rely on strength or intimidation." Elias shook his head. "Strength alone can win battles, yes, but it cannot win hearts or alliances. Sometimes the mind is stronger than the body." Lyra considered this. Few beings in the galaxy had ever impressed her in this way. Most were focused on power or status, but this human, he was something else. Not weak, not fragile, but clever and courageous in ways that surprised her. "Perhaps you are unlike the others," she said finally. "Perhaps humans are unlike the others." Elias smiled. "Perhaps we are, but perhaps all beings are if we take the time to understand one another." For a long moment they stood in silence, two figures from very different worlds. One was massive, feared and revered. The other smaller, underestimated, yet radiating a quiet confidence that few could ignore. Around them, life in the hub continued, but a subtle shift had taken place. Aliens who had once whispered behind her back now looked at her differently, and those who had doubted humans' capabilities now glanced at Elias with curiosity and respect. Lyra finally inclined her head. "You will accompany me to the council chambers. I wish to see if your courage is matched by wisdom. If you can navigate the politics of Zerathia as you have navigated this conflict, perhaps you are truly worthy of my attention." Elias nodded without hesitation. "I will do my best. That is all anyone can ask." As they walked together through the starport, Lyra's massive form towering over most others, Elias moved with ease beside her, unafraid. Traders and travelers parted instinctively, murmuring to one another about the human who dared smile at Lyra, and about the alien who had, for the first time in many years, shown genuine curiosity and perhaps even trust toward a human. The path to the council chambers was long and winding, filled with bustling marketplaces, transport hubs, and public arenas. Along the way, Elias observed Lyra carefully, noting how she interacted with her environment and how others responded to her presence. She was powerful, yes, but not cruel, commanding, yet fair. And beneath the surface, he sensed a loneliness, a being so formidable that few dared approach her, leaving her isolated despite the attention she received. Elias understood this better than he might have expected. Humans, too, often faced isolation, not from size or strength, but from fear and misunderstanding. Perhaps this, he thought, was part of the connection that might form between them. By the time they reached the council chambers, the sun was setting, casting long shadows across the hub and painting the sky in hues of orange and violet. Lyra paused at the entrance, her amber eyes scanning the horizon. "Remember," she said softly, more to herself than to him. "Respect is earned, not given. Do not disappoint me." Elias nodded, smiling once more. "I intend to earn it," and, with that, they stepped into the chambers together, marking the beginning of a partnership that would soon test courage, wisdom, and the very limits of understanding between two very different species. The council chambers of Zerathia were unlike anything Elias had imagined. Towering arches of gleaming metal curved overhead, and intricate patterns of glowing energy ran along the walls, pulsing faintly like the heartbeat of the city itself. Delegates from countless alien species had gathered here, their forms diverse and fascinating. Some with forearms, some with wings folded neatly behind them, and some whose translucent skin revealed faintly glowing organs beneath. Yet, among all these beings, Lyra's presence dominated the room. Even when seated, her massive frame filled the space with quiet authority. Elias followed her carefully, aware of the unspoken rules of this place. He had navigated alien diplomacy before, but never with a partner like Lyra. Her reputation was legendary, and she carried an unspoken power that commanded attention. Yet she did not dismiss him, and for that he was grateful. The council's purpose was to discuss trade routes, security measures, and disputes among planets and species. For Elias, it was an opportunity to observe not just alien politics, but the intricate interplay of culture, respect, and intimidation that governed this galaxy. For Lyra, it was a chance to see if this human's confidence could withstand scrutiny, debate, and pressure. "Captain Varen," Lyra said as they entered, her deep voice echoing slightly in the chamber. "Pay attention, observe, and remember. Sometimes, strength is not measured by size or force, but by wisdom." Elias nodded, smiling faintly. "I will remember." The first test came quickly. An alien delegate, a tall, thin creature with multiple jointed limbs, leaned forward and addressed Lyra with a tone meant to challenge. "Your presence here is intimidating," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "Are humans truly capable of understanding the complexities of our councils?" the chamber murmured. Many had expected Lyra to respond with force or a sharp retort. Instead, she looked at Elias, her amber eyes curious. Elias remained calm. "Humans have faced complexities that rival any challenge in this galaxy," he said, his tone steady. "We learn quickly, adapt, and, most importantly, we listen. If understanding is what is needed, we are capable." Lyra inclined her head slightly, acknowledging his answer. The alien delegate blinked, clearly surprised by the human's calm confidence. A few other delegates whispered among themselves, intrigued by this unusual human behavior. The council moved on to discuss a minor territorial dispute on a nearby asteroid cluster. The arguments grew heated as alien factions shouted over one another, each trying to claim authority. Many species relied on intimidation and volume to make their points, but Elias noted the underlying logic, tracing inconsistencies in their statements, and calmly asked questions that forced each side to clarify. Lyra watched with growing interest. The other delegates assumed she would interject or silence him, but she allowed Elias to speak. Step by step, he guided the discussion toward a fair resolution, demonstrating reasoning, patience, and the kind of quiet authority that only experience could bring. By the end of the session, the delegates reluctantly agreed to a compromise. They looked at Elias differently now, no longer merely a human among giants, but someone whose intellect and calm demeanor commanded respect. Lyra's amber eyes gleamed with approval. After the council, Lyra led Elias to the observation balcony, overlooking the bustling city below. Massive airships moved like slow, graceful giants across the sky, while smaller vessels zipped between them. From this height, the hub seemed alive with energy and purpose, a network of life and trade stretching far beyond the horizon. "You handled yourself well," Lyra said. "Few would have maintained composure. Many would have been overwhelmed, even frightened." Elias shrugged modestly. "I have learned to stay calm under pressure. Fear can cloud judgment, but clarity can solve problems." Lyra's gaze studied him for a long moment. "You are unlike most humans I have encountered, or perhaps unlike most beings at all. Fragile in appearance, yet unafraid of challenges far beyond your strength. It is intriguing." Before Elias could respond, a sudden alert sounded from the Council's communication network. A distress signal had been detected at one of the lower trade platforms. A group of cargo traders was being harassed by a gang of aggressive aliens, known for taking advantage of weaker species. Lyra's massive form tensed, and without hesitation she turned toward the exit. "Stay close, observe, but be ready. This is not part of the Council's plan, yet it will test your true capabilities." Elias nodded, his heartbeat quickening. Danger was never unfamiliar to him, but watching it unfold beside Lyra, a being so formidable, was different. He could feel the respect and the expectations placed upon him, and he refused to disappoint. They arrived at the lower platform to see chaos. Small cargo vehicles were overturned, containers scattered across the ground, and the gang of aggressors shouted threats at the frightened traders. Alien security forces were present but hesitant to act, unsure if they could intervene safely. Lyra stepped forward, her presence alone commanding attention. "Leave them," she said in a low, resonant voice that carried across the platform. The gang paused, looking up at her massive form. For a moment fear flickered in their eyes, but one particularly bold alien stepped forward, growling. "You are strong, Lyra," he said, "but we are many. We do not fear you." Elias stepped beside her, raising his hands in a calm gesture. "Violence is not necessary. Step back and no one will be harmed. Think carefully. Are you willing to risk everything for intimidation?" The gang hesitated. Humans were not known for physical strength in this sector, yet Elias's calm demeanor and Lyra's sheer presence created a psychological pressure they had not anticipated. One by one, the gang members backed away, grumbling but unwilling to escalate further. Lyra finally spoke again, her voice softening slightly. "Consider this a warning. Aggression toward the weak has consequences." The traders, trembling but safe, offered their thanks to both Lyra and Elias. The scene had demonstrated not just strength, but strategy, confidence, and courage under pressure. As they walked back toward the council chambers, Lyra spoke quietly to Elias. "You handled yourself well in a real test. Not all humans could have done so. Many would have panicked, retreated, or relied solely on others for protection. You adapted, you thought, you acted. That is rare." Elias smiled, humbled by her praise. "I only try to do what is right. Fear can guide some, but understanding guides more." Lyra studied him closely, as if measuring the weight of his words. "Perhaps there is more to humans than I thought. Not merely fragile beings to be overlooked or underestimated, but capable allies, even in the face of challenges that dwarf them physically." As they returned to the chambers, word of their actions had spread. Other delegates, who had once dismissed Elias, now observed him with curiosity and cautious respect. Some whispered that humans might be worth studying more closely, that their ingenuity and courage could tip the balance in unforeseen ways. The day ended with Lyra inviting Elias to a private training area, a space where she practiced combat and honed her strength. For humans, it would have been intimidating, but for Elias, it was an opportunity to learn, to understand, and to connect. He watched as Lyra moved with a combination of power and grace that few could match. She invited him to try simple maneuvers, not to fight her, but to engage his mind and reflexes. At first, Elias stumbled. Her movements were so fast, so precise, that matching her seemed impossible. Yet she did not mock or belittle him. Instead, she guided, encouraged, and corrected. Step by step, he began to anticipate her motions, responding with careful timing and thoughtful action rather than brute strength. By the end of the session, Lyra nodded with approval. "You are learning quickly. Your mind is sharp, your courage evident. Perhaps there is more potential in your species than I imagined. You may yet surprise this galaxy." Elias felt a quiet pride. He had faced intimidation, challenge, and scrutiny, yet he had proven himself, not by strength alone, but by courage, intellect, and adaptability. He realized that Lyra's interest in him was genuine, not just curiosity, but a recognition that humans could hold their own even in a universe dominated by giants. As they left the training area, Lyra's amber eyes caught the fading light of the twin suns. "Tomorrow," she said softly. You will face your greatest challenge yet. It is not a battle of strength, but a test of strategy and resilience. Are you prepared? Elias met her gaze, unflinching. I am ready. Lyra allowed a small smile. To touch her features, a rare, subtle gesture. Good. Then we shall see if humans truly deserve the respect they are beginning to earn. And so as the twin suns set over Zerathia, the bond between the massive, formidable Lyra and the clever, courageous human captain grew stronger. Each had tested the other's limits, and each had discovered a measure of respect and understanding that few in the galaxy could claim to share. Tomorrow the real trials would begin, but tonight they had proven that courage, wisdom, and mutual respect could bridge even the greatest divides. The calm of Zerathia was shattered just as dawn broke over the city's tallest towers. A fleet of unknown ships appeared on the horizon, dark silhouettes against the rising suns. Their markings were unfamiliar, their formation aggressive. Panic spread quickly through the trading hub. Merchants shouted, citizens ran for cover, and security forces scrambled to respond. Lyra's amber eyes narrowed as she scanned the approaching fleet. They are not here for trade, she said, her deep voice steady yet carrying the weight of warning. Prepare yourself, human. This is what I spoke of yesterday. Elias followed her gaze, noting the ship's sharp angles and unfamiliar design. They don't look like any allied faction, he said, already analyzing their formation. They are organized. Dangerous but predictable if we act carefully. Lyra gave a slow nod. Then we act. There is no time to hesitate. Today we see if humans can truly hold their own alongside beings who are far stronger and larger. They moved to the command deck overlooking the central plaza, where thousands of civilians had gathered, uncertain and frightened. Lyra called, out to the alien security forces, issuing orders that were precise and commanding. The soldiers responded immediately, forming defensive lines around the citizens. Yet the approaching fleet was large, and it was clear that sheer force alone would not be enough. Elias stepped forward. Strength is important, he said, but so is strategy. We need to use the city itself to our advantage. Lyra raised, an eyebrow intrigued. Explain. Elias pointed toward the network of narrow streets, elevated platforms, and transport hubs. The enemy relies on speed and intimidation. If we funnel them into tighter spaces, we can limit their maneuverability. We can use the environment to slow them down while your strength protects the civilians and key points. Lyra considered this, her massive form looming over the map. You speak as if you have already seen this battle, she said. But humans are small. How can your plan succeed when strength alone might fail? Elias smiled faintly. Strength can win fights, but intelligence wins wars. Give me a chance and I will show you. Lyra allowed him to lead the way. As the first enemy ships landed near the outer districts, her massive form moved into position, a wall of strength shielding the unarmed citizens. Elias coordinated with local commanders, directing drones, barricades, and mobile platforms to guide the attackers into controlled areas. The aliens were impressed by his quick thinking, noting how a being so physically small could influence the battlefield so effectively. The first wave of attackers moved down a wide street. Lyra stepped into their path, her sheer size forcing them to adjust their approach. She did not strike immediately. Instead, she assessed each move, her amber eyes tracking every motion. When one of the enemy soldiers lunged forward recklessly, Elias shouted a warning, and Lyra's swift reaction neutralized the threat, sending the attacker tumbling without harm to the civilians nearby. Elias directed security drones to block the narrow alleys while Lyra intercepted the more aggressive combatants head-on. Together, they created a balance. His strategy controlled movement and flow. Her strength provided direct protection. The enemy began to falter, unprepared for such coordination between a human and a massive alien warrior. During a brief lull, Lyra glanced at Elias. I admit it, she said. Your plan works. Humans may be smaller, but your courage and intelligence, they are remarkable. Elias nodded, catching his breath. Thank you. But we must stay focused. This is far from over. The enemy regrouped, sending faster units to flank the city from elevated platforms. Elias quickly calculated their trajectory. "They will try to cut us off," he said. "We need to reinforce the bridges and use automated turrets to delay them. Then we can guide them back toward the main streets where your strength is most effective." Lyra did not hesitate. "Do it," she commanded. Security forces followed his instructions, setting up barricades and automated defenses exactly as he suggested. When the flanking units arrived, they were met with unexpected resistance. Drones swooped down, guiding them into narrow streets and blocking their escape routes. Lyra moved like a force of nature, intercepting the most dangerous attackers and forcing them to retreat. Every move was precise, every strike calculated. Yet it was Elias's strategy that made her actions even more effective, allowing him to influence the battlefield despite his smaller size. A group of enemy ships tried to breach the central plaza, where civilians were gathered. Lyra placed herself at the front, her massive hands forming a barrier while Elias coordinated defensive drones and portable energy shields. Civilians watched in awe as the human and the massive alien worked together, turning fear into hope. One of the enemy leaders, a heavily armored alien with sharp spiked limbs, broke through a barricade and charged at Lyra. Elias shouted a warning, and Lyra pivoted, catching the attacker mid-lunge. With controlled strength, she restrained him without causing serious harm, tossing him aside while signaling to the security forces to capture the rest. The battle continued for hours, but Elias and Lyra's coordination held the attackers at bay. His strategies compensated for human physical limitations, while her power ensured that no civilian was harmed. Slowly, the enemy realized that brute force alone would not succeed against such a combination of intelligence and strength. Finally, the enemy commander signaled retreat. Their fleet ascended, moving quickly away from the city before they could be overwhelmed. Civilians erupted in cheers, praising Lyra and the human captain alike. Aliens who had once doubted humans' abilities now looked at Elias with newfound respect. Lyra turned to him, her amber eyes shining with approval. "Today you proved yourself, not just to me but to everyone watching. You have courage, intellect, and presence. A human who can stand among giants and be more than mere flesh. That is rare." Elias smiled humbly. "I only did what was necessary. Strength and strategy work best together. You have shown me the same lesson that power alone is not enough." Their victory was celebrated throughout the city, and word spread quickly. Traders, citizens, and even other alien species spoke of the remarkable partnership between the massive Lyra and the human captain. Many began to reconsider their assumptions about humans, realizing that size and strength were not the only measures of capability. After the battle, Lyra and Elias returned to the command deck, overlooking the recovering city. "You acted bravely," Lyra said softly, almost as if speaking to herself. "Few would have thought a human could influence the outcome of such a dangerous situation." Elias looked at the city below, the streets now filled with people repairing damage and helping one another. Sometimes, courage and quick thinking can make more difference than strength alone. Humans are small, yes, but we adapt. We find solutions. Lyra studied him, her massive form silhouetted against the rising suns. "I am beginning to understand that. You are not like the others. Fragile in appearance, yes, but capable of things few expect. Perhaps humans are underestimated by many for far too long." Elias chuckled lightly. "That has been true throughout history. But sometimes, underestimation can be an advantage." Lyra's amber eyes glimmered. "Perhaps. You will need all your cleverness in the days to come. The galaxy is vast, and danger is never far away. Today's victory is only the beginning." Elias nodded, feeling a deep respect for the massive alien beside him. "I am ready. Whatever comes next, we face it together." For a long moment, the two stood in silence, watching the city recover from the chaos. Around them, life continued. But something had shifted. Aliens who had once looked down on humans now regarded them with curiosity and cautious admiration. And Lyra, who had long been feared and isolated, had found in Elias not just an ally, but someone who could match her courage and intellect. bridging a gap that had seemed insurmountable. As night fell over Zerathia, the twin suns dipping below the horizon, Lyra spoke quietly. You survived your first real test. Tomorrow we begin a new challenge, one that will test not just courage or strength, but loyalty, wisdom, and endurance. Are you prepared? Elias met her gaze without hesitation. I am. I have learned much already, and I am ready to learn more. Lyra allowed a small, approving smile to touch her features. Good. The galaxy will soon see that humans are more than they appear, and perhaps together, we will show them what true courage looks like. And so, as the city of Zerathia settled into a quiet night, the bond between Lyra and Elias grew stronger. They had faced danger, tested their limits, and emerged victorious, not through sheer strength alone, but through intelligence, courage, and cooperation. The galaxy had begun to notice, and the lessons of this day would resonate far beyond the hub. The morning after the attack, the city of Zerathia was alive with a sense of renewal. Citizens moved about, repairing damaged structures, unloading supplies, and helping those who had been affected by the previous day's chaos. The twin suns rose high, bathing the city in warm, golden light. The air carried a mixture of scents, the metallic tang of machinery, the sweet aroma of alien fruits, and the faint ozone smell from the energy shields that had protected the city. Lyra led Elias through the bustling streets toward a quieter section of the hub, a training and cultural exchange area she reserved for learning and observation. Here, different species demonstrated skills, shared traditions, and passed knowledge to those willing to watch. You will learn more than fighting here, Lyra said, her massive form moving with ease among the crowds. You will learn about respect, discipline, and the value of understanding others. Strength is only one measure of power. Culture, wisdom, and knowledge can be just as influential. Elias nodded, eager to experience this. I want to understand, Lyra. Humans have much to learn about this galaxy, and perhaps I can share some of what we know as well. Lyra stopped at a large arena where several aliens practiced ceremonial combat techniques. Their movements were precise, almost like a dance, and their weapons, though dangerous, were handled with care. She gestured toward a nearby platform. Watch closely. Every movement has meaning. Every action teaches something about the individual and their society. Observe, and you may understand more than just combat. Elias leaned forward, eyes following the fluid motions. It's like a language, he said. Each movement conveys information. Discipline, focus, respect. Exactly, Lyra replied. Even the way we fight tells others who we are. Strength without control is chaos. Wisdom without action is wasted potential. Together they create balance. After watching the demonstrations, Lyra led Elias to a smaller, quieter area where alien scholars shared philosophies, art, and history. Holographic images floated in the air, depicting distant worlds, legendary leaders, and great conflicts. Elias studied them intently, fascinated by the complexity of alien societies. Every species has lessons to teach, Lyra said, her amber eyes reflecting the holograms. Even the smallest details can reveal a culture's values. Notice how they honor elders, how they record victories, and how they treat the weak. These lessons are as important as any physical skill. Elias nodded thoughtfully. Humans have similar traditions. We pass down stories, celebrate achievements, and learn from our mistakes. I think that's why we are able to adapt so quickly. We study, we reflect, and we act. Lyra considered this. Adaptability is rare among many species. Strength often leads to arrogance. You humans, small as you are, show resilience and ingenuity. It is impressive. Their conversation was interrupted by a commotion near the main platform. A group of younger aliens had gathered, curious about the human who had earned Lyra's respect. Some whispered, while others stared openly, fascinated by the unusual partnership between a massive, feared warrior and a smaller human who had stood unshaken. Lyra turned to Elias. Do not be distracted. Some will doubt you. Some will try to test you. Observe, but do not react hastily. True understanding comes from patience. Elias followed her advice, remaining calm as the group of young aliens approached. A few asked questions about the recent battle, clearly skeptical of a human's ability to contribute meaningfully. "You were small in that fight," one young alien said, "yet you influenced the outcome. How?" Elias smiled. "I watched, I listened, and I used my mind. Strength is important, yes, but planning, observation, and quick thinking can change what seems impossible. Being small does not mean being powerless." Lyra's amber eyes glimmered with approval. "Well said. Let this be a lesson for them. Power is not only in size, but in action and understanding." After the young aliens dispersed, Lyra led Elias to the ceremonial gardens, a peaceful area filled with plants from across the galaxy. Some glowed faintly, while others emitted soft hums. Streams of crystal-clear water flowed between stone pathways, and the air was filled with the quiet sounds of alien birds and insects. "Here we practice reflection and meditation," Lyra explained. "Even warriors must understand the mind as well as the body. A mind in balance can achieve more than strength alone." Elias followed her to a low platform, observing the way she moved, her breathing controlled, her posture relaxed yet alert. He mimicked her motions, feeling the tension in his body ease as he focused on his breath and the gentle flow of the water. "You learn quickly," Lyra said softly. "Humans are adaptable. Your species can learn from observation, reflection, and practice. That is a rare gift." Elias smiled. "We survive by learning, and by helping each other. That is how we thrive." Lyra nodded, her massive form settling onto the platform beside him. For a moment, they sat in silence, observing the gardens, the flowing water, and the soft light of the twin suns. Suddenly, a messenger arrived with urgent news. A faction of the council, still unhappy with the recent outcome of the battle, had called for a private assembly. They intended to challenge both Lyra and Elias, questioning the human's influence and his partnership with the massive alien warrior. Lyra rose immediately. "Then we shall go. This is part of the lesson you must face. Some beings are unwilling to accept change, even when it is justified. Courage and composure are tested not only in battle, but in diplomacy." Elias followed without hesitation. "I am ready." The private assembly chamber was smaller than the main council hall, but filled with tension. Aliens of various species sat along the edges, their expressions skeptical or outright hostile. The leader, a tall, spindly alien with sharp features, spoke first. "Lyra, you have partnered with a human, a species often considered weak and insignificant," the leader said. "Why do you allow this to influence our decisions? Is strength no longer valued?" Lyra's massive form radiated calm authority. "Strength is valued, yes," she replied. "But strength without wisdom is incomplete. The human beside me has proven courage, intellect, and strategic ability. To disregard these qualities is to ignore the full spectrum of capability." A murmur ran through the assembly. Some were impressed, others skeptical, and a few openly challenged her words. Elias stepped forward, his smaller frame unafraid. "If strength alone decided value," he said, "then many beings, humans included, would be dismissed unfairly. Yet we adapt, learn, and act decisively when needed. I do not replace strength. I complement it. Together, Lyra and I ensure the safety and success of those we protect." The assembly paused, considering his words. His confidence was quiet, measured, and difficult to dismiss. Lyra added, "Do not judge solely by appearance or size. Consider results, courage, and action. These are true measures of worth." The spindly leader hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Perhaps, and there is merit in your approach. Yet we will watch closely. Do not fail us." Elias bowed slightly, showing respect. "We will not fail." After the assembly, Lyra and Elias returned to the gardens. "You handled yourself well," Lyra said, her tone approving. "Many humans would have faltered under scrutiny, yet you remained composed. That is courage in its purest form. Elias chuckled softly. I have learned from you. Observation, patience, and action together create strength. I only applied what I observed. Lyra studied him carefully. Humans are resilient. You surprise me continually. Perhaps it is time for the galaxy to take notice, not only of strength, but of ingenuity and courage in all forms. The day ended with a quiet walk through the city. Civilians and traders, aware of the human who had earned Lyra's respect, glanced at Elias with curiosity and admiration. Children mimicked his calm composure, while adults whispered of the unusual partnership. Even other alien species began to consider humans differently, realizing that bravery and intelligence could change perceptions far more than size or intimidation alone. As night fell, Lyra and Elias stood on a balcony overlooking the city, twin suns setting and casting long, soft shadows. Tomorrow, Lyra said quietly, you will face challenges that test not only mind and courage but loyalty and endurance. The galaxy does not change easily. Some will resist, some will challenge, and some will doubt. Are you ready for that? Elias met her gaze firmly. I am ready. Whatever comes, I will face it with you and learn what I can. Lyra allowed herself a small smile, rare and genuine. Good. Together we will show the galaxy what true courage, intelligence, and partnership look like. And so the bond between the massive, powerful Lyra and the clever, courageous human captain grew even deeper. Through cultural exchange, reflection, and diplomacy, they had not only strengthened their skills but also begun to change the perceptions of those around them. Trust, respect, and understanding had taken root, preparing them for the challenges that lay ahead. The city of Zerathia had hardly slept. The twin suns rose over the horizon, painting the sky in streaks of gold and violet. Citizens went about their morning tasks with cautious energy. The previous day's disturbances had reminded everyone that danger could appear without warning. Yet the people had also witnessed courage, intelligence, and unity, and hope lingered in the air. Lyra and Elias stood atop the council balcony, overlooking the central plaza. Today, the threat was real again. A fleet of aggressive alien forces that had previously retreated now returned with greater numbers and stronger ships. Their markings were clear, a faction known for seeking revenge and domination. They did not aim to negotiate or intimidate. They came to conquer. Lyra's amber eyes scanned the horizon. They return, she said quietly. Stronger, faster, more ruthless. Today we face not just a test of strength, but a test of strategy and endurance. Are you ready, human? Elias met her gaze steadily. I am ready, and I am not alone. Lyra allowed a small, approving smile. Together they descended to the command deck, where alien forces and human allies prepared for battle. The streets were quickly fortified with energy barriers, automated, turrets, and barricades. Civilians were evacuated to safety zones, and scouts relayed reports of enemy movements. The hub hummed with activity, a symphony of preparation, tension, and determination. Elias quickly assessed the situation. The enemy will strike in multiple directions at once. If we divide our forces, we can protect the civilians while exploiting weaknesses in their formation. I recommend a layered defense, traps to slow them, strongholds for quick response, and a reserve team to strike at critical points. Lyra nodded. You speak as if you have done this before, yet humans are not usually known for leading fleets. I will follow your plan. Your mind must guide our actions today as my strength protects the people. The battle began with the enemy sending small strike teams into the outer districts. Lyra positioned herself as the primary defender, her massive form creating an unmovable barrier. Wherever civilians were threatened, Elias directed drones, energy shields, and patrol units to anticipate enemy movements, guiding them toward narrow streets where their numbers became less effective. A group of enemy soldiers attempted to flank the city from the elevated platforms. Elias quickly calculated their trajectory and directed a counterstrike using automated turrets and portable energy nets. The alien attackers faltered, caught in traps they had not expected. Lyra intercepted the remaining threats with precision, neutralizing them without harm to anyone nearby. The enemy commander, a heavily armored alien with jagged limbs, noticed the coordination between Lyra and the human captain. Frustration flickered across his face. How can a human influence the outcome of a battle so decisively? He demanded, directing his forces to focus on Elias. Elias, calm under pressure, continued to adjust defenses, redirect troops, and anticipate enemy movements. Courage and intelligence can rival strength, he muttered under his breath, observing the battlefield like a chessboard. Lyra stepped forward to confront the enemy commander directly. Her massive fists struck with precision, forcing the attacker to retreat step by step. Yet it was Elias's strategy that ensured no civilian was in danger, and that reinforcements arrived at exactly the right time. Together, their teamwork became a force the enemy had not anticipated. The battle raged for hours, but gradually, the attackers' formations broke. Their ships retreated from the city's perimeter, one by one, unable to overcome the combined strategy and strength of Lyra, Elias, and their allies. Civilians cheered from safe zones, and soldiers who had doubted humans' abilities now looked at Elias with newfound respect. When the dust settled, Lyra turned to Elias, her massive form silhouetted against the rising suns. Today, you have proven your worth beyond any doubt. You have shown courage, intelligence, and resilience, not just to me, but to all who witnessed this battle. Humans are indeed capable of more than many have imagined. Elias smiled humbly. We acted together. Strength and strategy complement each other. The victory belongs to all of us, not just one person. Lyra's amber eyes softened. Perhaps that is the lesson many species need to learn. Strength alone is not enough. Respect must be earned through action, courage, and cooperation. You, human, have earned it fully. As the city began to recover, word of the victory spread quickly. Alien delegations who had once doubted humans now spoke of their ingenuity and bravery. Children mimicked Elias's calm composure, inspired by his courage and thoughtfulness. Traders and travelers shared stories of the human who had earned the trust of the formidable Lyra. Lyra led Elias to the council hall for a formal address. Delegates from across Zerathia and nearby systems had gathered, eager to witness the aftermath. She stood before them, her massive form commanding attention as usual, but her gaze was directed at Elias. This human, she began, her voice strong and clear, stood beside me in battle. He demonstrated courage, intelligence, and leadership that few could match. He is a reminder that appearances are not the measure of capability. Today, the galaxy has learned that humans are more than underestimated. They are formidable allies. The chamber erupted in applause. Some delegates who had previously whispered doubts now stood, nodding in agreement. Aliens from various species approached Elias afterward, offering respect and acknowledgement. He accepted each gesture with humility, aware that actions had spoken louder than words ever could. Lyra placed a massive hand on Elias's shoulder, a gesture of both approval and partnership. You have earned more than respect, she said softly. You have earned trust, and together, we have changed perceptions. The galaxy will remember this day. Elias looked out over the city, now peaceful and orderly once more. It is not only about trust, he said. It is about cooperation, understanding, and learning from each other. Humans may be small, but together with allies like you, we can achieve far more than any of us alone. Lyra's amber eyes glimmered in the sunlight. Yes, that is the lesson I hope will endure. Strength, courage, and intelligence, combined, can inspire more than fear ever could. Today you have shown the galaxy what that means. As the suns rose higher, painting Zerathia in brilliant light, civilians emerged from safe zones, repairing streets and trading goods. Children played freely and traders resumed their work. The hub thrummed with life and energy, a testament to the courage, planning, and unity displayed by those who had defended it. Elias walked beside Lyra, both of them silent for a moment, observing the harmony they had helped restore. "I have learned much from you," he said quietly. "Not just about strength or combat, but about leadership, patience, and respect." Lyra nodded. "And I have learned that courage and intelligence are not confined to size or species. Humans are capable of much more than I realized. Perhaps the galaxy underestimated them for too long." The two stood together on a high balcony, overlooking the city and its inhabitants. Below them, aliens of every shape and size moved about their day, some glancing upward, curious, inspired, and respectful. Younglings pointed toward Elias, imagining themselves one day as brave, clever humans. Older aliens discussed the events, reconsidering their assumptions about small species. Lyra placed her massive hand on the railing beside Elias. "Today marks a turning point," she said. "A moment that will be remembered not just for victory but for what it symbolizes: partnership, understanding, and courage. Humans and aliens, working together, can overcome even the greatest threats." Elias smiled, feeling the weight of the day's lessons. "I hope that this moment will inspire others, not just to fight or defend, but to act with courage, intelligence, and respect. That is the true strength of any being." As night fell over Zerathia, the twin suns disappeared below the horizon, leaving stars glittering like diamonds across the sky. Lyra and Elias remained on the balcony, looking out at the city they had protected. They had faced danger, diplomacy, and doubt, and emerged victorious. Not because of size alone, nor strength alone, but because of courage, intelligence, and partnership. Lyra's amber eyes met Elias's, and for the first time in many years she allowed herself a full, approving smile. "Humans may be small, but you have proven that greatness comes in many forms. The galaxy will remember this day, and so will I." Elias returned her smile. "And together, we will face whatever comes next. Strength, courage, and understanding. These are our true allies." Around them, the city of Zerathia thrived. Traders, citizens, and alien visitors spoke of the remarkable partnership between the massive Lyra and the clever human captain. Children grew up hearing stories of courage, intelligence, and respect that crossed species boundaries. And for those who had once doubted humans, a new understanding emerged: that even the smallest beings, when guided by courage and ingenuity, could leave a lasting mark on the galaxy. As the night settled and the stars shimmered above, Lyra and Elias stood together, a symbol of unity, respect, and the limitless potential of cooperation. The galaxy had seen their courage, and a new era of understanding was beginning.